Hey everyone, my name is Armored of Divine Gamer, here bringing you a Cardfight Vanguard deck profile for Standard. This deck features Bastion post set 9, and I've been doing some testing with friends and whatnot, and so far I'm really loving the support that set 9 brings to the Bastion deck. There's a few units that I'm going to go over, and I really just want to talk about how much I just love Bastion even more. I freaking love him. So let's go ahead and get started with the Ride deck. So for the grade 0, I run Vanguard Brave. His ability, when this unit is rolled upon, if you win second, draw a card. So pretty much every other one. Every other starter that we've got in Standard. The grade 1 I run is Little Sage Marin. Only running her for the auto skill. When this unit is rolled upon by a grade 2 blaster in his card name, what you do is that you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to one grade 2 with blaster in his card name from among them, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then you shuffle your deck. Now if you did not reveal a card, you choose a Vanguard Brave from your soul, and you may call it to Rearguard Circle. So I'm going to let y'all know right now, for my Bastion deck, I do not run any other grade 2 blasters in the card name. So whenever I do that search, I'm never going to find them. And that's okay, because that's what I want. Especially because of the skill of the grade 2, which will be Blaster Dark. Now, Blaster Dark's auto skill, when he is placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, I'll counterblast one and retire another Rearguard. That Rearguard being the Vanguard Brave that I pull out because of Little Sage Marin's skill. And then what happens is that I choose one of my opponent's rearguards and retire it, and then this unit gets +1 drive until the end of the turn. So I want to explain why I use Blaster Dark, especially over Blaster Blade, because Blaster Dark is the better blaster, straight up. So why I do that is, one, pretty much first and foremost, the drive +1. That's the big thing there, especially because when it comes to retiring an opponent's rearguard, that rearguard doesn't have to be there. My opponent doesn't have to have a rearguard there for that to go off. It's just, you know, part of the ability, and you do as much as the ability as you can. So because of that, I'm not really too concerned about having the rearguard retire or not for my opponent. It's the drive +1 for me, honestly, and because of that, I can pretty much start drive checking and twin drive checking a turn earlier than usual. In turn, that will make sure that I have more cards in hand, and because of the triggers that I do run draw triggers in this deck, so that can help me get a good card advantage, hand advantage earlier in the game. And then the grade 3 that I run, of course, will be Apex Ruler Bastion. His skill, during your turn, all of your grade 3s get +2k. So whether in the front row or the back row, they're going to get that 2k if they're a grade 3. And then his skill being Auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. At the end of the battle that your drive check revealed a grade 3, you discard a card from your hand, choose one of your rearguards, stand it, and that rearguard gets +10k until the end of the turn. A very, very solid, aggressive skill. It doesn't require any counterblasts, and with me having a lot of cards in hand, it doesn't hurt for me to discard a card from my hand for his ability. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go into the main deck, and we're going to go ahead and start with the trigger lineup. So for the trigger lineup, right now, I'm kind of switching between the two. I'm not too sure what I want to do, but for now what I'm doing is that I'm running 7 criticals and 4 draws. 4 of those criticals being a Blade Feather Dragon, the effect trigger. At the end of the battle, this unit boosted, you put this into your soul, choose one of your units, and it gets +2k to the end of the turn. I don't really run it like that too much. Sometimes I'll put it down in case I need soul for something, but it's good to have the ability there just in case, but I don't really use it too often. Let me see. Next up, I run It doesn't really matter which other trigger you run. I just have Volition Rigger Dragon in here because it looks cool, and I don't have any of them in real life, so I do want to attain some at some point. But I just run whatever other trigger of 3 of them, and then I run 4 of the effect draw triggers: Protection, Magic, Parobi. On Guardian Circle, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets plus 5k shield. So it's good for a little bit of extra shield just in case you need it. The thing is that I want to explain why I'm running more critical triggers over, front triggers at all. The reason being is that hitting my opponent with a double crit sometimes is just immaculate. It really closes games fast. It helps out with aggression, and this deck being a really aggressive deck, it really works out for me just fine. You definitely can run the effect front trigger if you want. There's no right or wrong answer or anything like that. I'm just showing off how I run my deck. And really, the front trigger is good for shield, absolutely, especially with this effect, and helping making your front row more aggressive in numbers in that way. But I've just found that me having these critical triggers, the threat of an extra critical on a unit always makes my opponent guard, especially simply being that extra critical trigger is too good. It's too good. So I run them at 7. The draw triggers at 4. I've been switching between 8 critical and like 3 draw, and it's been alright so far. I like them both either way, but the draw triggers I like running because for me, I really need to get through my deck, and those draw triggers help do that for me. Let's see. I also run just 4 regular heal triggers. I don't run effect triggers, the effect heal triggers. They're too situational for me, and they're just not my cup of tea. So I'd rather just run with something solid and consistent, which is just, regular heal trigger, whatever version I might choose. But in my deck, that's I have those. And then, of course, for the final trigger, I run the over trigger. The key standing trigger, over trigger, Light Dragon Deity of Honors, Martino, I think. I still can't pronounce that name by now. But that skill being, you only have 1 over trigger in your deck. When it's revealed as a trigger, you move from play, you draw a card, you choose 1 unit and it gets 1 million power. And then the additional effect, until the end of the turn, you can also perform drive checks for the battles that your rear guards attack. It's beautiful. Popping off at the right time, it's really beautiful. The last regional that I went to, that just helped me out with getting more cards in my hand and really make sure that I ensured survival or just straight up winning. Over triggers are, I like over triggers, but I'm kind of done with over triggers. But I gotta have it in there. Everyone else is doing it, I gotta have that in there too. So it's alright. It is what it is. Let's see. Now I am running for the grade 1s. I am running for the perfect guards. Just the that solid skill at this point. And I already know what it does. But for those who don't, when this unit is put on Guardian Circle, you choose 1 of your units, and it cannot be hit to the end of that battle. So if your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from your hand and discard it. So if you end up having 1 or less cards in hand and you need to guard with this perfect guard, you can just set it down and that's it. You don't have to run, you don't have to drop anything else. It's such a wonderful step up from the original perfect guards that we had like way back in the day when Vanguard first came out, because it always felt bad when you were getting towards the end of your rope and you had perfect guards left in your hand, a perfect guard left in your hand, but you couldn't use it. It was that hurt, but we don't have to deal with that anymore. And then we can just skip the grade 2s because Blaster is in there. And now we move on to the grade 3s, the meat and potatoes of this thing. Morikawa would be proud. So, what we're going to do, we're going to start off with an Apex Ruler Bastion. I run 2 additional copies in the main deck, just because sometimes when I've tested, I haven't seen a Apex Ruler Bastion, which, you know, I'll get into later. But usually, sometimes if I don't see Apex Ruler Bastion, Bastion Prime, with not seeing them, sometimes I'll see Apex Ruler, so I'll just like put in a Persona Ride, and Persona Rides are solid, you know, 10k to your front row when you do so, and you get a draw card. It's helpful to get through times when you don't have them. But there are more units that actually help you to see Bastion Prime, so we're gonna start off with those units. So those units being Decisive Heavenly Axe Deliberate. And this one I really like. Its skill is when this unit attacks or the attack this unit boosted hits a Vanguard. You look at the top 7 cards of your deck, you choose up to 1 card with Bastion in its card name from among them, and you know that includes Apex Ruler Bastion or Bastion Prime, and you reveal that card, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Now if you reveal a card and this unit is in the back row, you retire the unit. So this I really like. It searches for Bastion straight up. That's just what I feel like this deck needed. The thing is that the only weakness with this skill is that this skill is an on-hit skill, so that puts the consistency into the hand of your opponent, which I personally do not like, but it is what it is with this skill. And it honestly still, I like the pressure that it can provide. And in the end, you know, despite that being in the hands of despite that skill popping off, being put into the hands of your opponent, you know, I'm not a fan of that, but it's all right. And I still think that it's a great addition to the deck. Now, another great addition to the deck for consistency will be Revelin Slash Dragon at a 3 of. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle from your hand, you Soul Blast 1. You choose a grade 2 or greater card from your drop and you put it on top of your deck. I need you to understand how ugly that is. And it's ugly because it's a Soul Blast, but that's really not a huge deal, so the cost isn't that bad. It's not a counterblast, so that's great. Being able to choose a grade 2 or greater card from your drop and put it on top of your deck, it's craziness. Absolute craziness. Especially because of Bastion Prime's skill. Now, what I'm going to do is, let me talk about Bastion Prime skill real quick, and then I'll tie it in more with Revelin Slash Dragon. Oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. Whoa. I don't know why that says ride deck. That's weird. That should not be in the ride deck. That's so odd. But anyway, Apex Surpassing Sword Bastion Prime. This guy, creme de la creme of the deck. He's who, you know, we're looking for every single time you play. You want to get to him as soon as possible. So continuous. During your turn, all of your front row gets plus 2k. So that's a nerf from the regular Bastion skill. All your grade 3s would get plus 2k. It's only your front row, but the next skill, that's a trade-off. Too good. So at the end of the battle, and this is auto Vanguard skill once per turn, at the end of the battle that your drive check reveals a grade 3 or greater card, what you do is that you put, for the cost, you put a Bastion in its card name from your hand or soul into your drop. You stand up all of your grade 3 units, front row or back row, and they each get plus 10k until the end of the turn. Things get real ugly for your opponent real fast with this card. Bastion Prime is too freaking amazing. being able to stand up all your grade 3 rear guards and they get plus 10k each, you're going to be swinging for huge, huge, huge numbers. Now, just to go over that skill again, at the end of the battle, that your drive check will reveal a grade 3 or greater card. This is grade 3 or greater, so it could be any grade 3, it could be another copy of him. So there's quite a few of those in the deck, so you're pretty much good in that regard. But let's say you feel like you need a bit more consistency with that Bastion Prime. Sometimes before set 9, I've ran into the problem of, okay, I've ran through, you know, all the Bastions that I can for like discarding the card from hand or blasting it from the soul, and you know, I'm pretty much not able to activate its skill because of that. But with the beauty that is Revelin/Dragon, you can choose a grade 2 or greater card from your drop and put it on top of your deck. That includes Apex Ruler Bastion. That includes Apex Surpassing Sword Bastion Prime. So, I know Bastion Prime doesn't have a Persona ride, but when you get an extra one in your hand, ride Bastion Prime over itself. I personally do that, especially because of being able to use its skill in that regard. I don't really like having the Bastion Primes in my hand. I prefer riding it over himself over and over. But after, you know, you use his skill to take a Bastion from your hand or soul and put it into your drop, you can use Revelin/Dragon. And you do this, you know, obviously you do this during the main phase, but let's say you have like a grade 4 copy of him that you need to have in your hand to activate his skill because you don't have one in your hand or your soul. Or on top of that, you just need to guarantee yourself that you can have his skill go off, and you do have the Bastions for whatever reason. You just do have them in your hand. He makes sure, he guarantees, Revelin/Dragon, he guarantees that Bastion will pop off. And that makes him absolutely scary. Absolutely scary. Just scarier that he can just do what he has to do. And it's freaking great. I freaking love it. I run him at 3. I see him enough at 3. You can probably run him at 4 depending on how you structure your deck. I've seen some people put Bastion Prime to 3. I'm toying with the idea. I might do that. I might not do that. Honestly, I haven't really decided yet. But I'm slightly tempted to. And the only reason I run Bastion Prime at 4 really is I've had games where I haven't seen him at all, and it pisses me off. So, but I've had games where I never saw Bastion Prime. So running Bastion Prime at 4 for me is just I really need to see this dude. So that's why I run him at 4. But hopefully cards like Decisive Heavenly Axe, Deliberate would help out with that a bit, you know, despite that skill being in the hands of my opponent, of whether that would go off or not, but that's okay. Now, the last card that I want to talk about, as far as, well, probably not the last card for consistencies, but the next card I want to talk about that's from set 9 is Brave on Sky Trimmer Rondalia. And she is the new booster option for Bastion, and her, in my opinion, is just superior to the option that I use now, which is Pride to Protect. What Rondalia does is that as an axe skill on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Bastion in its card name, what you're going to do is that you're going to put that unit into the soul. You're going to choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets to continue and seal a Vanguard circle. All of your grade 3 rearguards gets boost until the end of the turn. Like, it's till the end of the turn, but it's just it's too good. No matter what you put down after you use her skill, it's gonna get that grade 3 is gonna get that boost due to her giving that skill to the Vanguard. And the next skill that also really helps with consistency, this is an act ability from the soul. So what you do is that you take that card and put it into your drop zone. You choose one of your grade 3 rear guards, and it gets boost until the end of the turn. So I don't really know where to start with it. Like, giving another of your grade 3 rear guards in the back row boost, or whatever rear guard you want to give it to, extremely helpful with keeping somewhat consistent, especially because you may not be able to boost with everyone. You won't be able to boost with everyone, but you'll at least have that one grade 3 in the back that'll help out with providing pressure to your opponent more due to boosting. And on top of that, you take, with her skill, you take her, you put that card into your drop zone. With Revelin / Dragon, you can just put her right back on top of the deck. And then especially with having, let's see here, especially if you have a Bastion in like your soul or your hand and you feel like you're good to go in that regard, she just puts her back, and then you'll be able to use her the next turn for boosting. So Revelin really helping out with Rondalia, and Rondalia, she's just freaking great, because with putting her into the soul, you could essentially use another unit that prioritizes using soul blasts and things like that, and that other unit would be Grand Heavenly Sword Alden. Day one, ride or die since day one. Grand Heavenly Sword Alden, and everyone knows the skill line now, but when this unit is placed on rearguard circle auto skill, you counterblast 2, soul blast 1. You choose a card from your hand and you call the rearguard circle, and if you call the grade 3, you draw 2 cards. That just helps you dig through the deck. Sometimes you get what you're looking for, sometimes you don't, but regardless of that, it helps you get more cards into your hand. It's extremely helpful there. And then his other auto skill on rearguard circle, when this unit attacks, if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, this unit gets plus 5k until the end of the turn. Now that stacks. That absolutely stacks. So he's really great attacker. Just a beat stick who just gets stronger every time he attacks, and he's really amazing. So he's never not been in my Bastion deck, honestly. He's never not been in it. So absolute staple. Always happy to see him. And honestly, I don't see any way that he could not be in the deck. So and then the last grade 3 that I'm talking about here, I know I did a little jumping around because I jumped to Bastion Prime earlier, but the last unit I'm going to talk about here is Heavenly Shock of Distinction, Lagriel. I still have not dropped Lagriel. I personally can't. I love him too much. He has cleared so many games for me. Even just at locals yesterday, he got the job done. For me, he just gets the job done. His auto rearguard skill, so when he attacks a Vanguard, you counterblast 2 and you rest any number of your rearguards. And now till the end of that battle, this unit performs drive checks and gets plus 5k power. Now at the end of that battle, if 3 or less units were rested for this cost, you choose 3 cards from your hand and discard them. And if 1 or less units were rested for this cost, you choose 2 cards from your hand and discard them. And, drive check was performed after Guardian's Call, as per usual. So, now, it took me a bit to understand this one, but after doing research and finding out how it works, you're going to want to remember the magical number with Lagriel, which is 420. So, with that being said, what those numbers entail is that you need to remember the number of units that you would target for using his skill. The most beneficial one that you would use would be the number 4. So if you rest 4 units, you discard no cards from hand. If you rest 2 units, you discard 3 cards from hand. And then if you if you rest no units, if you rest 0 units, you discard 5 cards from hand. So just to say that again, you rest 4 units, you discard no cards. You rest 2 units, you discard 3 cards. And if you discard 0, I keep saying that. If you rest none of your units, you will be discarding 5 cards from your hand. So just keep that number in mind when you use Lagriel. I always make sure to have a full field when using him. Very rarely will I try to never rest any cards. If I don't rest any cards when using Lagriel's skill, it's because I'm really just trying to kill my opponent then and there. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't, but that's okay. Resting 2 units, it's a little moderate. It depends on how I feel, and especially if I have a good amount of cards in my hand, I won't mind discarding those cards. And especially with having Rebel and Slash Dragon in my deck, it doesn't hurt as much as it used to. And I forgot there is one last unit that I need to talk about, and that is Heavenly Enclasped Dragon and Brace Dragon. This grade 3 is for guarding purposes. It's really great. When this unit is put on Guardian Circle, you choose one of your grade 2 or greater units being attacked, and it gets plus 10k until the end of that battle. If you chose a grade 4, it gets plus 20k instead of 10k. So for me, this can make up for guarding power as far as not having any fronts in the deck, and it's another reason why I want to get to Apex Surpassing Sword Bastion Prime as soon as I can, so that units like that can have its full potential and its full value being used. And it's just a solid guarding card is absolutely needed, especially because this is all these grade 3s and I have in the deck grade 4. They don't have any guarding power, so you gotta make up for it a little bit somewhere, and that's how you do it here. But other than that, that is pretty much the end of my deck profile. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or even any suggestions as to anything else that I could be doing with this deck, feel free to comment below. I really appreciate you guys interacting with my content. I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for that. You can catch me on Discord, Twitter, and Twitch as well. I will leave those links in the description down below. But once again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I hope things are going well for you guys. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day. See you later.